Okay, great. Yeah, I was just wondering what would a People's National Bank look like?
Mm, that's a good question. So I heard, what would a People's National Bank look like, and then nothing after that. So I'm
Yeah,
hoping that's
and then
okay. Is
and
that
how
all?
would
The
it?
whole? Is that the whole question?
Well, I'm assuming the second part would probably be answered in the first, but the second part is how would it differ from financial institutes like BlackRock and how they handle retirement funds and all that?
Great question. Thank you.
That's a really good question. I think a BlackRock that every American owns a piece of can start you thinking in the right way, right? Because BlackRock isn't owned by everyone. It's not. That's a, getting into how BlackRock works is actually very complicated. But
Yeah.
I think, look, the exact way it would be structured would be up to experts. And my expertise is not in setting up financial institutions. It's more dialectics, that kind of stuff. But I think just remembering that it's a national bank rather than a people's bank that could, that, like I said, every American owned a piece of is key. Secondly, it would be this bank that would decide sort of how credit is given for new enterprise, right? And entrepreneurship and that kind of thing. And the actual profit returns from this credit could be done in a way that benefits the people, and the money actually gets put back into the economy rather than taken out of it by some private leeches. Do you want to expand from there for us, Eddie? Because I'm going to run off for a minute myself.
Yeah, it's similar. It would work similar to the banking system in China, or the hypothetical banking system that Gaddafi wanted to set up for Africa. And the reason that Gaddafi wanted an African developmental bank is because the loans that African countries get from the IMF, the World Bank, and these Western financial institutions are obviously not favorable. There's extremely high interest rates. They're aimed at trapping these countries in debt, and they come with strings attached. Basically, we're only going to give you financing if you enact these political reforms that we want to see, crush organized labor, and allow us to exploit you freely, and get rid of any protectionism in terms of trade, and allow for free trade between us and you. So what I mean, this is hypothetically in the case of Africa, what a people's bank would have allowed them to do is establish sovereignty. So they could run this bank however they wanted. The bank could, hypothetically, if somebody racked up a lot of debt, the bank could cancel that debt. The bank could keep interest rates very low. And rather than focusing loans just on what's best for multinational corporations, financing could go towards development projects, towards infrastructure, towards things that are good for the whole nation, for the working class. So it's basically a bank that prioritizes people over profit. And right now we have a banking system that prioritizes profit over people, of course. And this is one of the main differences between China's banking system and the U.S. banking system. They're not trapping countries in debt. Countries are accumulating much smaller sums of debt. And then China is all the time canceling the debt that like African countries rack up. But China says they won't finance anything unless it's equity, which means real capital. It means China's investing in things that will yield more financial returns, yield more money for these countries that they're investing in the future. So this is the power of having a socialist national or people's bank that finances development instead of debt trapping people.
I think at the end of the day, Advil, it's about the purpose
It's ad
of.
boy.
Oh, I'm sorry, ad boy.
Advil.
Oh, my bad. Daniel
All good.
apparently can't speak English very well. or there's something wrong with my hearing. Either one. There's probably something wrong with my hearing. No, at the end of the day, really, it's about the purpose of the institution. Is the institution there to make as much profit as possible, or is it there to keep the economy running smoothly and continually develop the country? We're
Yeah,
at
I mean
this
the latter makes more sense. I mean, just common sense.
It is just
precisely.
common sense. You're 100% right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when my book finally comes out, whenever the hell that'll be, you'll see how destructive by the process I call financialization or full financialization has genuinely been to capital itself. Because when it
Yeah.
operates on modern
Yeah.
finance operates on fictitious capital. And these credits they're giving out actually forces inflation by creating more currency, or which is really less value being added into the economy and
Mhm.
more a marker on value that is yet to be created. But because
Yes.
they don't separate value and price, that they come up with an equation that doesn't even out, right? And compounding interest rates just make them give more and more debts and more and increase and increase and increase until it starts to collapse. And that's what we saw in '08. That's what we saw like when Silicon Valley Bank collapsed. And every time they do it, they take more and more money from regular hardworking people to prop the entire process back up and go around again. What we're saying is that process needs to stop.
This is what my research is focusing on too. And mine will be more specific to the development of the stock market and the development of the American banking system, which is now the global banking system. And I really like Haas's way of framing this: is it's a global empire that occupies America. Because that's really what it is. These are transnational corporations, and
Yep.
global financial institutions. That and we need a national bank, not this global bank that tries to debt trap the rest of the world.
Yeah, I agree.
100%.
Awesome.
Well,
Well, thank you so much for your question. You got anything else?
no, that was all. Thanks, guys.
Great. Great.
All
Thank
right.
you. That was great.
Yeah, I
Daniel,
love that.